I can't see it here yet, but I know this is going to bite into this prong. The same way it bites in the front, it's going to bite in the side. And just like in the front, I don't think I've left enough material to accommodate that. We'll do it like that and call it good for now. I don't want to keep seeing this because it confuses me. I gave this a lot more thickness, but I'll address that as I do the wires in the front. So this is the new front of this. It's going to want to feel like it connects. This downward swoop there doesn't make sense. It doesn't have a cleft in the front. It comes straight up. And this comes up and becomes this wire. I'm not going to really see the front of that very much. I'm going to mostly see the side of it. This is the hardest thing about mechanical drafting to understand, is what you see and what you don't. But this is the front of the mask. This is like the front of my face, and over here is the side of my head with the ears on it. You've always got a thickness of material. You can't have anything paper thin, ever. And so this has a thickness. It's a pretty thin wire, so it won't have to be thicker on the side than it is from the front. 0.6 of a millimeter, half a millimeter. And it comes down almost to here. Almost. Now that's becoming very hard to read, and I'm okay with that. If there's so much detail going on that it's hard for me to draw with a 3-pixel brush in Photoshop, then that's detail that my design can probably fudge a little bit, honestly. This is going to come up. And this whole prong assembly is actually feeding in. And this overlaps it. It's a little bit above that line where the full overlap is, so I'll bring it up. Okay, that's that. For whatever that is, that's that. So now I need to try and bring up this piece, which is probably one of the scarier things to do in this design. It's going to come down something like that and feed into the shoulder. Something like that. And this is the process of developing a design. I'm developing one thing at a time. The sketch, I kind of did everything at once. Developing, I have to make sure that I understand what I've drawn. I don't want this to be too static in here. I want it to go thin and then thick again as it feeds into that under bezel. And that's because I'm using that Mucha reference, that Art Nouveau reference. I want to feel plant-like in here. So I've got that. I'm going to clear my guides. There are too many of them. Window. It's either under window or view. View. Clear guides. That takes them all away so that I can see better what I'm trying to do. So this comes in about here on the side. It comes in a little lower than that, but I'm going to assume that it kept climbing and contacts the metal somewhere in here. Plus it's going to make my life a lot easier. You can see over here that's already a lot lower than this under bezel on the side. And that under bezel on the side is as important to the center stone as the under bezel on the front is. So I can't just chisel away at it. That's what I've done. I've chiseled away at it pretty dramatically. I need to know where I think that blends into the shank. That's about here. Something like that. Once again, I'm going to treat this as a square. In real life, it'd probably be more rounded. Not fully round, but softer. I'm going to treat it as a square cross-section, or a rectangular cross-section, an angular cross-section, so that I can understand front versus side. Or in this case, yeah, top and side. Because most of what I'm going to see from this is actually going to be coming down like this, and it actually is going to cradle this under bezel on the side. You don't see that here very much. Come on in. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So I'm trying very hard to understand what I'm seeing in the front here over on the side. Now I haven't drawn the side of my shank yet. And that's because what happens here is going to help determine that. This corner comes down a little ways below here. I'm going to say it comes to there. So this is the opening. But what's interesting is you can see that this is actually part of the under bezel for the finger rest for this stone. And I am making changes to how that looks now. I don't see there being a shank that stops and then comes out anymore. I see it as being a gradual thing. And because I see it as a gradual thing, I think that all needs to be moved more over towards the shank. Like that. And by now that'll all be a side view of that. Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's true enough. Now I'm going to draw this portion of the finger rest, which is largely decorative because we actually lose the finger contact right here. But because we gain it here and we have it here, it'll still sit on the finger nicely. It's not too extreme. And once again, to keep that organic feeling, I'm going to let this, I can't let it get too narrow though. I've got to be careful because this is a millimeter. This is a finger rest. It can't ever get below 9/10. So that's about as thin as it can go. If I want variation, I'm going to have to make it thicker coming out, not thinner going in. I can cheat a little bit here where it necks into the head, but really not very much. In fact, I question how thin I've made that. There was something pretty about it, but structurally not very sound. So, view clear guides and pull down some new ones. I need to see where that hits into that head, that prong. And I'm going to assume it travels up a little bit further before it actually runs into the prong. Going to have both of those. So here it is biting into the prong. And coming down. And joining into the shank. How that's going to look, I won't know until I've drawn the shank. But something like that. And this is going to come in and do something like that. I would like this drawing to reflect some of that thickness and variation going on, because I think it's nice. It's important to the design. Now see, the challenge is that as this comes up, you're going to see less and less of the front and more of the top. I think I've cheated there from what it would really be. But I want to see that because it helps tell the story better to me. Double check the bottom of this. And clear guides. Okay, so that's starting to give me information that helps me to really see this design for what it is. Now I'm going to do my under bezel for my side stones. I really can't drop down very fast. I needed to capture the front of this as much as I can and still satisfy engineering and design demands. And this will blend away. It is very lumpy looking, and I don't love that. This bump. The prongs will change that. I know they will. When I start putting prongs on the side stone, this will make more sense. But I'm going to cheat. See, I draw what I think is smart first, and then I cheat. That's going to leave a certain amount of that pavilion hanging, which isn't perfect. I'm going to let it open up and make it a thinner under bezel as it comes up, which is questionable also, but I believe within tolerances. Okay, try and draw it from the side, verify it. Okay, it's falling away from the stone considerably right here. And I'm getting to the point where I'm going to really want to bring that over my symmetry tool, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to estimate where the middle is. Somewhere there. See, that shows it from its angle is not making much of a difference. But I know that it does. This does not contact into the prongs. This blends into, remember, this becomes part of the same plate. So what does it do? Because it's now definitely higher than the plate that makes the front center stone under bezel. So I have a problem. It's kind of a cool problem in that it's a design problem, and those are always kind of neat, but it's kind of a problem. And that problem is going to be that I'm actually going to have a step in my plate. This would make a hand jeweler very angry. Since I intend to CAD model this, it doesn't really solve the problem, but it makes it less severe. Doing this gradual thing means that this spot is going to be visible from the top view. It's flared out from the girdle of this stone, so it's going to be visible. But there'll be a prong there, so I'm not concerned. I'm aware, but I'm not concerned. This needs to be in front of that, which means as I come down here now, I have to allow this to clearly step out in front. That's important because the model maker, if it wasn't me, would need to see this step to believe what I wanted them to do. They're going to think that this is kind of crazy, and they're not wrong. All right. This bumps into the shank here on the inside. So now, everything I do that comes this way is going to show. It has the risk of showing from above. So I need to keep this as tight to my maquette as I reasonably can. And that leads to some interesting questions about this piece. But I'm okay with this. This will work. And this under bezel. Does that. I don't like how soft and fading my brush is being. So now I'm going to take away all pressure sensitivity. Actually, I don't think it allows that. Maybe it does. Yes. Hard round, the most basic thing you can get in Photoshop. See, that's going to give me these really hard lines that I don't love. Once I do that, I get the same thing where it's either nothing or everything. We'll try that for a bit. See if I like it better. So now I have to make a commitment about the shank.